Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Recha HaKodash. Double honors to the elder apostles as well as the elder bishops who labored to teach us this truth. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there pushing this word in truth, sincerity, and indeed. I'm your brother Kapatazar from the Great Millstone Chicago branch, coming at you with another real quick, Lord willing, edifying lesson. And just going into the plans of these elites, all right, what they plan on doing. And it's basically they just want to disenfranchise the whole world under this term called corporatocracy. All right, I hope I'm saying that right. But nonetheless, you know, it's the same modus operandi of these Edomites, these devils, all right, and heathens alike. And what they do is after they've defrauded a working class people, hoarded up wealth, made the rich get richer, the poor get poorer by means of ridiculous taxation, you know, fake pandemics, wars, you know, everything you can think of. All right. All types of skullduggery that you can think of. All right. So after they've amassed all this wealth amongst a minority of each other, right, they just go on and they just start taking lands. You know, they take over lands or they purchase or invest, quote unquote, in these lands to make them just big, rich playgrounds, you know, for the corporate elite. While they disenfranchise the poor and the working class inhabitants of these areas. You look at a place like Greenland's been dominating the airwaves. You know why? It's rich in resources. It's only 50,000 people. They don't have a strong army, and they're just there for the taking. You know, so this devil, you know, they bringing the horns out, and this is a key indicator of a decline of an empire, or an empire that's being puppeteered by a small elite class. OK, and so what they're going to do, they're going to use America to be the hammer of the earth like it's always been. You know, you're going to search out these small, humble, weakened countries. Salakia, if y'all hear the madness going on outside. But yeah, they're going to target these smaller, weaker nations that are abundant in resources, you know, have, you know, great locations, good weather, you know, all that. And they just going to take them over and turn them into their personal playgrounds, you know. And yeah, more for thee and none, more for me and none for thee. You know, you'll own nothing and be happy about it was the slogan, all right, of the what was that dude? Damn, I forgot that damn Klaus Schwab, that devil. All right. So this is what the elites plan on doing, and Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to throw a wrench in their plans. But nonetheless, I'm going to let this young lady, Kim Iverson, I'm going to let her sum up the
Trump is creating a new style of governance the world has never seen. Donald Trump unveiled his Board of Peace. At the same time, Jared Kushner unveiled a new Gaza plan for rebuilding the Gaza Strip. Rather than the people governing themselves through the ballot box, like with a democracy, or even rather than a monarchy or a dictator, this is a new style of governance that is being rolled out, where essentially investors are going to build up territories, build up countries, build up nations, and they will control them. It would be run by, rather than presidents and prime ministers, sovereign CEOs. This is much more sinister, and let me explain. It starts off with Kushner's new Gaza plan. I think they've chosen Gaza because they knew they could bomb the heck out of it to raise the entire place so that they could clear all the rubble, build something brand new, and try out this new style of world domination. And we know this because the Board of Peace is not, even though it was supposed to be created for Gaza, it's not in their charter. Gaza's not mentioned. It's for any and all territories that they can essentially get their hands on to do this exact same project. Gaza is just the prototype. Now let's first listen to Jared Kushner talking about the new Gaza plan.
We want to encourage all the countries to be able to follow these best practices. What the Board of Peace will have the ability to do if we're successful with Gaza is really show how do you do peace implementation. As we're creating this system, we can just document these learnings and make them available to all else who want to use them in the future.
Very specifically, Jared Kushner is talking about investors redesigning a strip of land whose people people still do not control their borders, their politics, or their security. They will not be in charge.
There'll be amazing investment opportunities.
The charter for the Board of Peace actually gives Trump ultimate decision-making power with the ability to act on the board's behalf without needing full board consent, essentially making him a king of a territory. That is essentially what this is. And the thing about the Board of Peace is that it's not limited to Gaza. When they started Board of Peace, they said, oh, this is for the rebuilding of Gaza. But then they wrote the charter and they unveiled the charter, and it turned out, wait a minute, this isn't limited to Gaza. This is for any and all areas of the world that you believe there's a conflict, and you're going to go in there with investor money and rebuild these areas, and the investors will actually be in charge. The governance will be by the investors who have a board, a chairman of the board who's ultimately the overseer of this, not the people. They want that for all of us. This is a way for the investors to start ruling the world. Trump is creating.
Right. So basically, the NWO, right? The NWO will be headed by corporate interests, all right, or corporatocracy, all right? So corporatocracy is a system where business corporations hold dominant political and economic power, influencing or controlling government laws and societal values for corporate profit, often undermining democratic processes through lobbying, dark money, and shaping public perception via media. So complete and total domination, manipulation, and tyranny, okay? Tyranny by way of AI investors, you know, what was the word I was, technocrats, all right, guys that are super duper filthy rich through tech and war. So they call it the Board of Peace when the Board of Peace has blood all over it. See, these are the same investors that arm rebels, that arm coups to destabilize countries, send them into all-out civil war, and then they come in with peace to make peace after great mayhem has ensued and great destruction. And so they come in and say, hey, you know, we've made peace. Now we're going to rebuild your country, and you're not going to control it. You know, we got this from here. You know, just goddamn devils, man. And this is the new world order, man. All right. This is the book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands. And hey, these people, that's what these summits, you know, G7 and meeting up at Davos and, you know, these high places where these witches and warlocks go to sacrifice and come up with different or whatever the demons tell them to do. And so they implement their plans and their policies, and it's all wickedness. Okay, it's all demonic, you know, and that's what's going on when these different world leaders come to meet. All right, they discuss different ways to make the poor suffer. All right, different ways to where the rich can get richer and the poor can become more poor and disenfranchised. You know, and that's how they've been ruling the world. But, you know, a system like that is very much finite. It's very short. The scriptures say what? The reign of the hypocrite is but for a moment. Matter of fact, the triumph. I think it's the triumph. Triumphing. This is the book of Job 20:4. It says, know you not of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing or the victory of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment. See? So, you know, these guys, you know, your devious plans, okay, of screwing over the world, screwing over the poor, that make the world go round, this type of plan and this type of reign, it's only for a short moment because it's wicked. Okay? It is completely sinister. All right? The earth is abundant enough for everybody to enjoy a good standard of living. But you're not going to get that when the wicked are in rulership. Okay? The scriptures tell us, man, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. So when you look at the current state of the earth right now, you understand that the wicked are in power. And who are the wicked? You Edomites. Okay? All those faces, those ties, those bald faces, these are Edomites. This is who has made the earth a living hell. These guys. Okay? No matter how much they use their media to paint narratives, to point the finger at so-called black people and people of color. All right. We have our issues as well, but we're not the ones that are causing the decline and death in the earth. Okay. All right. Going back to Micah. These niggas destroyed the earth. Niggas might destroy their neighborhood. Niggas might destroy a block or two. Edomites, they destroyed the earth and the minds of the people in it. You know? This is Micah chapter 2, verse 2. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage, man. See? So like she was saying, after they've blown a certain city to smithereens, here come those investors. They want to build it up, you know, and create these metropolises, you know, these fake utopian, dystopian cities where your regular average working class person, you're not going to have access to it, you know. See, that's that New World Order. Unless you're of a certain class, you're not going to have access. You know, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able to. You're not going to have access to these things that they want to build up. You know, when you look at Venezuela, you know, a place that is war torn by civil war and so-called drug wars. Okay, that was all by design. So now America's going to come in and, you know, pick up the pieces. They're going to reinvest. They're going to build up that infrastructure, or so they think. They're going to build up the infrastructure to, you know, extract those resources in that oil. All right. But a place like that, hey, is going to bring, or so they think, is going to bring industry. Because I've also read that the whole Venezuela project ain't going to go how they suppose it's going to go. You know, and that's just Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai throwing wrenches in their little plans. Every time they go to do something, you know, the Lord throws a monkey wrench into it. And now it just becomes difficult for them to execute their plan. Scriptures say what? They're going to be in straits. All right. I know I'm kind of all over the place. This is just the spirit. Yeah, back in Job 20. See, Job, the 20th chapter, this is the New World Order chapter right here. You know, this is because the elites, they think they're just going to do all this baller ass shit. You know what I mean? And the Lord ain't going to have none of that, man. All right. This is the book of Job, chapter 20, verse 22. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. See? So while he's in the midst of, you know, building up these cities, you know, robbing these people, taking their shit, thinking you just gonna build up this, you know, state-of-the-art technological elite super cities, you know, the things that they've dreamed of, they're gonna be in positions of difficulty that they're not gonna be able to execute. All right. They won't be able to execute their devices. See, it says, continuing on in Job 20 and 22, it says, every hand of the wicked shall come upon them. And that word wicked is what? The worker, the wage slave, the laborer. Wicked, Imal, the laborer, the workman. Okay, the working class poor. All right. See, because the people that live in these areas, the people that are in search of employment, just, living check to check, just trying to make a dollar. Eventually, when you look at what's happening in the U.S., the squeeze is just getting so tight. People are just finna start saying, man, fuck this, and people are just eventually just going to start getting it how they live. And eventually they're going to turn on these so-called leaders that they elected in office, because people are finding out, especially the Americans, they're pulling the wool out from over their face, and they're realizing that be you liberal, be you conservative, be you Democrat, be you Republican, these are just two wings on the same greedy fat ass bird. Okay, that's devouring them on both sides. Okay, and eventually the people are gonna resist and rebel, and then they're gonna look to devour, all right, the one that's been devouring them, which are these corporate elite. You see? So Esau, your plans aren't gonna go how you suppose it's gonna go, man. All right, because at the end of the day, the Heavenly Father is sending the only begotten Son, Yahushua, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, who is a so-called black man according to the Bible. He's being set for his grand return the closer and closer you get to your so-called New World Order. See? He wants to create a digital prison planet for people like you and I, But for the elite, the bloodsuckers, the child traffickers, the child sacrificers, the PDF files, the witches, warlocks, sorcerers, all right, these people are all going to end up bending the knee. Let me get James 5 and I'm going to get up out of here. This is the book of James 5, chapter 1. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth eaten. All right, it says, your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you. See, so the way in which you've amassed all this wealth is going to testify against you that you're the wicked. Here it is. You've got more than the heart can desire. These people got hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is starving. The rest of the world is in straits. The rest of the world is being taxed out the fucking, the rest of the world is absolutely suffering because of this system that you've created.